When gold and silver go up, it's bad for the US dollar. Who's holding the most amount of treasuries? Well, it would be the Fed and the US government, China, and other players. Those are your main suspects. Also, if you think about what's going on in the economy and Basel III and gold being named a tier 3, what the internet wants to call it, basically gold and Basel III, which is a regulation all the world's central banks follow. If people want to know when gold's going to launch, I'll tell you when it's going to launch. When the powers that be figure out and it reaches its true value. So when the powers that be have got enough control and are ready to implement CBDCs, then they're going to revalue the gold and silver, and then they're going to extinguish the debt, either write it off or use the gold and silver as collateral. What is Judy Shelton out on Twitter saying today? Oh, let's do a gold-backed treasury because I'm a gold bug. No, you want to do a gold-backed treasury because you're trying to use the gold that you stole from people all of these years because you didn't let it trade at its right price, and you let the central banks buy it, suppressed by the commercial banks, to do your dirty work for you so that you can back the treasury so that you can flip us into CBDCs without having a full default. It's not really what we all want to happen. I mean, I know we all cheer when the gold price goes up, but there's a certain point in which it invalidates the status of the dollar. And the rest of the world knows this. The rest of the world knows it because they're de-dollarizing. And as Lynette Zhang pointed out on her show recently, and as I've been pointing out as well, is that now less than 50% of global reserves of any currency is not in the dollar, or less than 50% is in the dollar. So we passed that the Maginot line at which the dollar is no longer the dominant currency. It's no longer the world's reserve currency. It's over. That is over. Okay. And they know it. And so it's like, you know, I've used this description before in your channel. They're trying to steer the Titanic. They know it's going down. They're trying to steer it through the icebergs and get as many people off the ship. The problem with all of this is they know what's going on, and he's right in his comments, but they can't allow it to completely revalue because the Titanic goes down, it crashes, and we're in serious and deep trouble. And so really, you know, as you and I were talking on the program before, it's a blessing that the price is going down in a way because it allows people to go get more. I wouldn't want to be a seller of it at this point because the U.S. financial system, I mean, hell, the whole global financial system is a train wreck, a dumpster fire with a nuclear bomb, you know, sitting right on top of it, about to go off any minute now. It is a god-awful mess. And when it blows up, a lot of people are going to get hurt. And your only savior is going to be the gold and silver and not CBDCs. And that's what the government wants to go in. And oh, by the way, I'm going to point out, we're going to segue a little bit to CBDCs and digital ID. The main reason I think that the governments of the world do not want to allow the dollar to fail just yet, and that's even including competitors, China, Russia, and the BRICS nations, is one, they hold a lot of treasuries. But two, they're not ready yet either because the CBDCs, while they're on their way, are still in beta phase and testing phase. And they've been doing this for a long time, but it's not quite ready to implement. And secondly, the digital IDs haven't been fully rolled out. But it's funny that this summer, Aaron, who's with the Brownstone Institute and runs digital, or the Daylight Freedom Foundation, sorry, Aaron Day, came on my program. He's like, Rob, we've all been covering CBDCs. And then over the summer, while we were not looking, the digital IDs, which we thought maybe were ways away, got implemented in 17 countries. In Vietnam, if you don't have a digital ID, you cannot have a job and you don't have access to a bank account. In Mexico, they're requiring you to have all of your biometrics on a government database or to be a citizen, to exist in the country, or you presumably the threat is that you lose access to anything, including, I don't know, the ability to rent an apartment. We don't know what the fallout of that's going to be. In Australia, they're using AI to collect people's identities. The governments of the world want to put us in this digital prison, Danny, and they're not quite ready for that moment where gold is revalued. Because look, the U.S. government, if Bissett and Trump and all the people in the U.S. government really gave a damn about the American people above all else right now, they would have brought the gold to the forefront, revalue the reserves as they've been threatening to do, try to pay off some of this debt and go to a gold-backed currency or allow gold to compete with their currency, or done something to stabilize this. And they would have been messaging to the U.S. people. They haven't been doing that. What they're doing is they're doing all these meme coins and garbage coins and digital coins to herd people into the digital side of things while they herd all the gold for themselves, for the government. And they're going to want to put us in this digital prison. That's what's coming. It's in 17 countries around the world. And you know the scariest thing? It's in 11 states. states. So the real ID license that has been mandated by the US government for some time has been digitized in the background where they're not telling you, and they're going to use it to limit your access to services in 1/5 of the states right now. And the idea is to have the CBDCs and the digital IDs rolled out by 2028 at the latest across the entirety of the United States. Okay, that would be about, what is that, 2 years and 2 months from now?
Mm-hmm.
And probably within the greater part of the world. And it's tyranny, and it's not what we want. And whenever they do finally allow the dollar to crash, and by the way, this is the entire world is in on this. Okay, they're all playing along. All of the political theater you see is kabuki theater. You know that Trump just agreed to a deal with China on trade. If China were serious, they have the U.S. by the nuts. They could have dumped their treasuries. They could have limited rare earths and crashed the U.S. economy anytime they wanted. They're in on the game because they all want to do the CBDCs, and they want to get all the gold out of the system that they can. Okay, that's what's going on. That's the reality of what's going on, and people need to be aware. So I understand that people are going to be really pissed about gold and silver going down. I am too, because it's a crime. But at the end of the day, what it really does is gives us just that little bit more time, and maybe wakes a few more people up so they can get out of this stupid system and not be captured by these digital IDs and have a chance at having some level of financial independence, which they're not going to have if the stupid technocrats around the world get their way. And if you look at the associations that Trump has with people like Bill Gates and Peter Thiel, that should tell you where the US government is going with regards to your health freedom, with regards to your financial freedom. And these are going to be major issues going forward. So people need to pay. Covering on the COMEX and gold and silver while the regulator CFTC is on vacation and needs a Department of Justice investigation at this point, blatant manipulation. So I've covered manipulation dating back to 2010. I wrote a series of articles on Seeking Alpha. Seeking Alpha is considered mainstream in that it's user produced content, but it's by a lot of hedge fund managers, analysts, and independent authors who've been studying the markets for a very long time. I got credit on GATA, the Gold Antitrust Action Committee, for being one of the first to put out a series on gold and silver manipulation back in 2010. And I did a 5-part series, and the manipulation hasn't stopped. This is a blatant manipulation of the rules of commodity trading in the American markets. It should be, it is a crime, and it should be investigated by the Department of Justice. JP Morgan, as one of the big 4 banks that does this, was fined $920 million a few years ago for openly manipulating both the Treasury and the gold markets. They laughed it off, though, as one of their representatives said, well, we make $1 billion a year in the trade anyway, so they laugh it off. The 4 big banks that do this, as named on the Government Office of the Comptroller of the Currency Report, are Bank of America, Citibank or Citigroup, HSBC, and JP Morgan. And not only do they hold the 4 biggest banks that hold short positions in the metals, they hold the most derivative positions across all derivatives, not just commodities, things like real estate, stocks, all of that kind of stuff. There are 1,000 products traded on COMEX, everything from oil to cattle to hog futures to whatnot, gold and silver. And the 2 largest short positions are almost always gold and silver. You'll see platinum and palladium there. You'll see sugar in there. You'll see some oil sometimes, but it's dominated by short trading in the metals. And it's not possible for these banks to have as much short position as they have because of position limits, which are not enforced by the CFTC, the regulator. And right now the CFTC is on vacation. Why? Because the government shutdowns. It's interesting to see how long this government shutdown goes and manipulation of markets. You see manipulation of other markets, but specifically in gold and silver, you've seen this massive slam down. It is short covering. The prices rose very fast in order to protect the big 4 banks' short positions in these markets. There had to be a period of time where they slammed it down. Obviously, they're going to wait until the watchdog, the CFTC, is not on the case and they're not there. But also, I would say, I'd caution people to think that the banks are doing it only for themselves, because they have 2 accounts within this. They have their house accounts, which is for them, and then they have their commercial accounts, which is for the people that hire them to do it. The question is it JP Morgan, HSBC, Citigroup, and Bank of America, and they are doing it in their house accounts, but is it also people that have hired them to do it. And who